So we have a huge amount of, I kind of would feel it as an instinctual ability to be healthy. When we let ourselves, we can recognize if we're eating a food or drinking something that's actually not totally good for us. Our body will give us a little bit of a signal. Yeah, it's a little bit like having a hangover after having too much to drink. Your body's saying, shouldn't do this, it's not good for you. Yeah, we do it and we override it, yeah. But the signal is there. You know, like if we eat too much, it's like, oh, feeling, yeah. Our body is able to tell us. So in the yogic system, in the practice of yogas, there isn't any separation between body and mind. It's all viewed as one system that works together. In our Western system, and particularly our education system has a lot to answer for this, in that it can pull us much more into the level of the mind, and that our way of being in the world is very much mind first rather than body first or even instinct first, intuition first. So it's like later on in life when we run into a wall with that one, we have to sort of recalibrate into how do we bring the wisdom of the body back into this? How do we bring back in the wisdom of intuition and what we know in ourselves, what we know from our ancestors? It's all very much there. And all that's ever required is for us to be able to tune into that. There's a lot that helps us, because the signals from the body are quite subtle. Yeah? Unless it's a hangover, then it may not be so subtle. Most other things are fairly subtle. So in order to be able to really hear that and really tune into it, our mind needs to be significantly quieter. Our mind needs to just be a little bit more calm and more spacious, because otherwise it can get in the way. Otherwise it's like having a radio on in the background and we might miss what signals our body is giving us. Or even if we get the signals, we might override them. So if we're getting a signal from our body, like for example, my pattern would have always been to override tiredness. I still do it, right? I could be really tired and somebody would ask, are you tired, Emer? And I'd be like, no. No, because I'm not falling asleep, but I will very easily override that and I will keep going until I kind of crash a little bit. Yeah, that's absolute madness. But how we can, when something feels unwelcome, and I remember this as a child, going to bed was an ordeal. I don't know what I thought was going to happen whenever I went to bed, but I hated it. I hated the whole thing of falling asleep. It really frightened me or something. I don't know. But, so how we can be non-accepting of what our body is telling us. Tuning into the subtleties of our body. Tuning into what our body needs. We can do really, really simple things. Even if we start with the basics of eating well, eating healthy, eating lighter food, not so much meat, because we eat a lot of meat in our diet these days. If you go back even 100 years, people didn't have the money to eat as richly as we do, unless they were very, very wealthy. And eating what's in season. Our bodies are natural things, so they will naturally follow the cycles of nature in enjoying and digesting particular foods. Particular foods are ready at particular times of the year because they give us a lot of what we need. Yeah? So even a very ordinary practice of that can actually really benefit our body. Eating food that's fresh, not processed, never been frozen, not from a can. That's the best we can do. Yeah, of course that's going to happen. Yeah, but for the most part, as we increase that vitality, we take away things that our body would process as toxic. Yeah, so things like alcohol, things like excess sugar, things that our body processes that almost as a toxin. Dairy as well can be very, very heavy in our system. Just gives our body a lot of work to break that down. So by reducing these, you can cut them out if you want, but by reducing these, our body over time will start to feel a little bit lighter. If we go from, I remember going from eating a very high meat diet. I would eat meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, in some way, shape, or form. And when I decided I was going to be vegetarian, it was almost overnight I decided this. And I thought, right, I'm going to do this. It's probably a phase. I'll get over it in a couple of months. And so the first month that I wasn't eating meat, my body was in a lot of pain. My stomach was all over the place. It didn't matter what I ate, it made me feel sick. And I thought, this is only hummus. I mean, how can hummus make me feel sick? But I would have cramps and bloating and all of this kind of thing because my body was detoxing. I didn't know it at the time, but it was such a change from how I had been eating. Yeah. So it's better to not do that so dramatically. If you can do it just in a gradual basis, your body won't feel so uncomfortable. Yeah. But we can maximize that wellness of our body through really simple things. Yeah. As our body energy gets lighter, our body has more energy for fighting things like colds and the viral stuff, bacterial stuff in the air. We'll find after a while, after a couple of years of being vegetarian, I didn't really get sick anymore. It's very rare that I get sick. If I get a cold, it might last 24 hours. So I'll feel my body will just kick in, fight it, cold is gone. Yeah? And that hasn't happened in a very long time. I had like a little sore throat for maybe about 2 hours one time over Christmas, and had some lemon, ginger tea, gone. Went to sleep, fine the next morning. Yeah? So we can really maximize what our body is able to do by how we keep that energy clear. When we meditate, it does the same thing. Meditation in the body, it's like it gives everything a rest. It's a little bit like sleep, but it's more intensified than sleep. And so all of our different body systems, the more that we practice meditation consistently, they begin to renew and cleanse and rejuvenate and recharge when we sit to meditate. And over time that accumulates. We start getting really optimum performance out of our body. How do you feel about that?
Pretty good.
Thanks, Paula. When it comes to illnesses that we get, yeah, we can have an idea, maybe a sense that a huge amount of illness is to do with the state of our whole being. So whether it's back pain, or it's headaches, or it's sore throats, or different things like that, we can usually trace that back to something in our emotional world or something that has happened. If there's something that I needed to say or ought to have said and I'll zip it, I can get a sore throat from that. My voice will be hoarse. The same will happen if I'm losing the head with somebody. Usually it's anger, yeah? So if I'm really angry with somebody, I'm like, Emer, just zip it, shut it, my throat will flare up. It was probably a good idea that I didn't say whatever it was that I was supposed to say, but my throat will be affected by that. Same last year when I found out that I needed to move house. Within 24 hours I had a back pain. That lasted, and I knew it would last until I found a new place to live. As soon as I found a new place to live, and as soon as I was moved in, back pain was gone. I didn't do anything different. I didn't go for a massage or anything like that. I just knew that my root chakra was disrupted because it no longer felt like I had a secure base in the world. As soon as I had a secure base in the world, back pain was fine. So when we get into how our body can tell us what's going on, that also gives us how we can respond to that. We're not just guessing what's going on or how I can heal this. We're not just going down the route of treating symptoms. We can actually get in there a little bit before that. So for me, practicing meditation like this has helped me tune in much more clearly to whatever my body was telling me. And in a similar way, when I'm working doing healings with people, it allows me to tune into what their energy is saying. includes all sorts of things. It's like vitamin deficiencies, it's anything psychological, any trauma that the body is still holding, all of that kind of stuff. We can trace it. Energetically, it will have, it's a little bit like a code. It's very hard to describe, but it has an energetic code that can let us know what that's about. Yeah. When our intuition gets clear enough, we'll be able to trace that. We'll be able to find that out.